I was once that guy who thought love meant giving everything. For 18 months, I poured my heart, soul, and bank account into my relationship with Jasmine. When her 29th birthday approached, I spent weeks planning the perfect rooftop celebration in downtown Seattle. $5,000 later, I watched her clink her champagne glass, gather everyone around, and announce with a smirk, "This is Atlas, my boyfriend who pays for everything and actually thinks I love him." The room went silent. My world collapsed. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from, and subscribe if you have ever had your kindness mistaken for weakness. I am Atlas, a 32-year-old software engineer at a growing tech company in Seattle. My parents raised me in a middle-class household where I learned the value of hard work, saving money, and treating people with respect. Those lessons shaped who I am today, though they would eventually be tested in ways I never imagined. My dating history before Jasmine was a mixed bag. A few short-term relationships, one serious girlfriend in college, who moved across the country for her dream job. These experiences left me cautious, but hopeful that I would find someone to build a life with. I first met Jasmine during my lunch break at a local coffee shop. She sat at the table next to mine, her long auburn hair catching the sunlight streaming through the windows. She wore a tailored business suit that exuded confidence, and when she smiled at the barista, the entire room seemed to brighten. Our eyes met briefly when she noticed me looking her way. Normally, I would have glanced away and gone back to my sandwich, but something about her drew me in. I gathered my courage and commented on the book she was reading, one of my favorites. "You have good taste," she said, her voice warm and inviting. "This is my third time reading it." That simple exchange sparked a conversation about our favorite authors, which somehow led to discovering our shared interest in hiking the local trails. 40 minutes later, I realized I was extremely late getting back to work. But I had her number and plans to meet that weekend at Discovery Park. During the days leading up to our first date, I found myself checking my phone more often than usual, smiling whenever she sent a message. There was something different about Jasmine, a spark that I had not felt in years. Our first official date exceeded all expectations. The weather cooperated with clear skies as we hiked through Discovery Park, talking nonstop about everything from childhood memories to career aspirations. Our conversation flowed so naturally that 4 hours passed without us realizing it. Our second date was at an upscale restaurant downtown where we talked until the staff began putting chairs on tables. Standing outside her apartment building afterward, the streetlights casting a soft glow around us, we shared our first kiss. The connection felt so right, so perfect. Over the next few weeks, our relationship deepened through shared interests in travel, food, and outdoor adventures. She introduced me to her favorite hidden restaurants, and I showed her my secret hiking spots with the best views of Mount Rainier. When I invited her to a weekend barbecue with my friends, they immediately took to her vibrant personality and quick wit. For the first time in years, I felt truly understood by someone. Jasmine seemed to appreciate my thoughtfulness and attention to detail, often commenting on how different I was from men she had dated previously. When I surprised her with tickets to a sold-out concert, she had mentioned wanting to see her face lit up with such genuine joy that I knew I was falling hard for her. Our 3-month anniversary arrived faster than I expected. To celebrate, I planned a weekend getaway to a cozy cabin near Lake Chelan. We spent those days hiking, cooking together, and talking late into the night in front of the fireplace. It was during this trip that Jasmine first mentioned her financial concerns. "My company is going through a restructuring," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "My department might be downsized, and I am already struggling with my rent payments." Seeing her distress, I instinctively wanted to help. "How much is your rent?" I asked. $1,400, she replied, looking away. "But I cannot ask you to help with that." "Let me help just this," once I offered, feeling proud that my tech salary allowed me to assist, "until things stabilize at your job." The gratitude she showed overwhelmed me. She prepared a special candlelit dinner the next weekend and told me how lucky she was to have found someone so caring and generous. Little did I know that this moment would establish a pattern that would come to define our relationship. Over the next few weeks, Jasmine frequently forgot her wallet when we went out to dinner. Small gifts became designer purchases. When I took her shopping, what started as an offer to buy her a new shirt somehow turned into bags of expensive clothes. Each time I paid for something, she would shower me with affection and gratitude, making me feel valued and needed. My salary allowed me to be generous while still contributing to my savings, and I felt proud to support someone I loved. In my mind, this was how a man showed his devotion. About 6 months into our relationship, my best friend Thomas voiced concerns. We were grabbing beers after work when he carefully broached the subject. "Do you not think Jasmine relies on you too much financially?" he asked. "Every time I see you two, you are paying for everything." I dismissed his worries, explaining that I enjoyed taking care of her and that she showed her appreciation in other ways. But his question planted a seed of doubt that I could not entirely ignore. Over the following weeks, I began noticing small things. Jasmine seemed less affectionate on days when I did not bring her gifts. At a dinner with her friends, I caught them exchanging knowing glances when she mentioned the new designer bag I had bought her. When we were alone, she often seemed distant, constantly checking her phone, but would become animated and engaging when others were around. The list of things she needed grew longer, and her credit card statements, which she occasionally asked me to help with, grew larger. I rationalized that providing for her was my way of showing love, but an uncomfortable feeling began to settle in my stomach when she would show off expensive gifts to her friends almost like trophies. Whenever I gently questioned the necessity of certain expenses, Jasmine would become upset, accusing me of not supporting her or understanding her needs. Not wanting to risk the relationship, I would quickly apologize and drop the subject. As we approached our 18-month anniversary, Jasmine began dropping hints about wanting an extravagant celebration for her upcoming 29th birthday. She would casually mention friends whose boyfriends had thrown them lavish parties, showing me photos of exclusive venues and elaborate decorations. "My birthday is the one day of the year I want to feel truly special," she would say with a wistful smile that melted my reservations. I decided that her birthday would be the perfect opportunity to show my commitment to our relationship. If she wanted special, I would deliver beyond her wildest expectations. I researched venues and eventually booked the Sky Lounge, a prestigious rooftop location with panoramic views of downtown Seattle and Elliott Bay. The venue alone cost $2,000 for the evening. I hired an exclusive caterer and professional bartender, selected customized decorations, and arranged for a photographer to document the event. For her main gift, I selected a designer dress that cost nearly $2,000 after seeing her linger over it during a shopping trip. The total cost for the party exceeded $5,000, requiring me to take out a personal loan to cover everything. As the weeks of planning turned into days, I felt a growing excitement, imagining her appreciation and the way this grand gesture would deepen our bond. I spent countless hours coordinating with vendors, creating personalized touches like photo displays, showcasing our relationship milestones, and ensuring every detail was perfect. When I showed Jasmine photos of the venue and the menu options, her reaction was unexpectedly lukewarm. "It is nice," she said with a slight shrug. "But could they upgrade the champagne to the premium option? And the flower arrangements seem a bit basic." Each time I shared a new detail of the party planning, Jasmine found something to criticize or change. The guest list grew longer, as she kept adding more of her friends, many of whom I had never met. What started as an intimate gathering of 30 people ballooned to over 50 each edition, increasing the cost. 2 weeks before the party, I overheard Jasmine on the phone with one of her friends. "Atlas is going all out," she said with a laugh that sounded different than I had ever heard before. "You know how he is always trying to impress me. It is almost too much, but at least the party will be Instagram-worthy." I stood frozen in the hallway, her words hitting me like a physical blow. That evening, Thomas and I met for our usual Thursday night drinks, and I confided my growing doubts. "I think she is using you, Atlas," he said directly. "This has been going on since the beginning. When was the last time she paid for anything or did something special for you?" I could not answer. The realization that I could not recall a single instance in recent months where Jasmine had reciprocated my generosity was painful to acknowledge. Still, I pushed my doubts aside. I had invested too much in this relationship, both emotionally and financially, to walk away now. As the financial stress mounted, I began dipping into my savings to cover the escalating party costs. Meanwhile, Jasmine seemed increasingly focused on how the party would look on social media rather than the meaning behind the celebration. When we met with some of her friends for dinner, I noticed their subtle condescension when discussing the party plans, as if they were privy to a joke I did not understand. The morning of the party arrived, and while Jasmine slept in, I was up at 6 a.m., running final errands. I picked up the cake, confirmed details with vendors, and began setting up decorations alone at the venue, while Jasmine spent the day getting professional hair and makeup done, another expense I had covered. Throughout the day, last-minute changes kept arising. Jasmine texted that she wanted different flowers for the centerpieces. The caterer called because she had directly contacted them requesting premium upgrades. Each change added hundreds of dollars to the already staggering bill. I called Jasmine repeatedly with questions about setup details, but she rarely answered. When she finally arrived at the venue, just 30 minutes before the first guests were due, she offered minimal help and spent most of the time taking selfies against the Seattle skyline. Standing alone on the rooftop while Jasmine was in the restroom touching up her makeup, I felt a moment of clarity break through my determination to make the night perfect. What was I doing? Was this relationship truly what I thought it was? The doubt was uncomfortable, but I pushed it aside. This was her day, and I was determined to make her happy. By the time guests began arriving, physical and emotional exhaustion was setting in, but I put on a smile and welcomed everyone. The venue looked spectacular, transformed into a dream setting with twinkling lights, elegant floral arrangements, and the glittering Seattle skyline as a backdrop. Jasmine made her grand entrance in the designer dress I had gifted her, commanding attention immediately. She gave me a quick kiss and thanked me briefly before joining her circle of friends who had arrived together. I spent the next hour playing host, ensuring everyone had drinks and food, introducing myself to the many guests I had never met before. From across the room, I observed Jasmine drinking heavily, becoming louder with each glass of champagne. Her group of friends formed an exclusive circle, occasionally glancing my way with expressions I could not quite interpret. One friend in particular, Amanda, gave me cold, almost pitying looks throughout the evening. As the night progressed, my unease grew. Jasmine had barely spoken to me since the party began, except to request more drinks or ask me to address issues with the caterers. The knot in my stomach tightened as I maintained a smile, feeling increasingly isolated in a room full of people at a party I had paid for entirely. 3 hours into the celebration, after numerous trips to the bar, Jasmine was noticeably drunk. She picked up a spoon and loudly clinked her champagne glass, calling for attention. The music quieted, and the room fell silent as everyone turned to listen. Jasmine began with standard thanks for attendance, raising her glass to her friends and family. Then she turned toward me, and something in her eyes shifted. "And this is Atlas, my boyfriend," she announced, her words slightly slurred but clear enough for everyone to hear. "He pays all my bills, buys me everything follows me around like a pathetic dog, and actually thinks I love him." The room went completely silent. I stood frozen, unable to process what I had just heard. Then, uncomfortable laughter rippled through the crowd, encouraged by Jasmine's own giggling. Amanda, standing beside Jasmine, added loudly, "And he thinks you two are moving in together next month." More cruel laughter spread through the room as my face burned with humiliation. My heart raced so fast I thought it might explode from my chest. Some guests laughed along while others looked away in embarrassment, but no one spoke up. In that devastating moment, the beautiful illusion I had carefully constructed shattered completely. This was how she truly saw me. This was what our relationship meant to her. The realization felt like a physical blow, knocking the wind from my lungs. Yet in that split second of pure humiliation, something else happened. A strange clarity washed over me as 18 months of warning signs flashed through my mind. The forgotten wallets, the escalating demands, the distant behavior when we were alone, the condescending friends who had known all along what kind of relationship this truly was. An unexpected calm settled over me as the truth crystallized. I suddenly understood my own worth in a way I never had before. The weight of pretense lifted as I accepted reality. There was freedom in having nothing left to lose, in seeing clearly for the first time. Without fully forming the thought, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I was done being a victim. It was time to take back control. I walked calmly across the room to where Jasmine stood still, giggling with her friends. The room watched in tense silence as I approached. With a composed smile, I gently took the microphone from her hand. "Thank you, Jasmine, for that introduction," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "You are right about several things. I have been generous. I have paid bills, bought gifts, and even funded this entire party, because I believed that is what you do for someone you love." I paused, looking around at the faces watching me intently. What I have learned tonight is an important lesson about the difference between kindness and weakness. I have confused the two for too long. Looking directly at Jasmine, whose smile had frozen on her face, I continued. "Our relationship is over effective immediately. You can keep the gifts I have given you, but my time, my attention, and my financial support end tonight." I turned to address the venue manager who stood nearby. "Everything for tonight is paid in full. The bar, the food, the space. Everyone should enjoy themselves." Then I looked Jasmine directly in the eyes, one last time. "Thank you for showing me your true self before I made an even bigger mistake. I deserve someone who values me for who I am, not what I can provide." With that, I placed the microphone on a nearby table and walked toward the exit. Whispers erupted behind me, but I did not look back. For the first time in 18 months, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. I had reclaimed my self-respect. I drove straight to Thomas's apartment, operating on autopilot. When he opened the door, one look at my face told him everything he needed to know. He simply stepped aside and let me in, offering me a beer without asking questions. "She showed her true colors tonight," I finally said after a long silence. "Do you want to talk about it?" Thomas asked without judgment. The dam broke. I told him everything, the words pouring out between moments of disbelief and anger. The public humiliation, the betrayal, the realization that our entire relationship had been transactional rather than emotional. My phone buzzed repeatedly throughout the night. Jasmine alternated between angry texts, accusing me of overreacting, and apologetic messages, claiming she had been too drunk to know what she was saying. I finally blocked her number and all her social media accounts, unable to stomach any more manipulation. That first night was the hardest processing. Not only the end of the relationship, but the understanding that it had never been what I thought it was. Yet, alongside the grief, came an unexpected relief at finally seeing the truth. "You know she is going to try to get you back right," Thomas said. "Once she realizes the gravy train has stopped." "I am done," I replied, surprised by my own conviction. Some things cannot be unsaid or unheard. In the weeks that followed, I moved through all the stages of grief. There were moments of intense anger when I calculated the total amount I had spent on Jasmine over 18 months. Other days brought a profound sadness for the relationship I thought we had. I created a financial recovery plan for the debt I had accumulated, taking on extra projects at work to pay off the personal loan faster. As Thomas predicted, Jasmine made numerous attempts to contact me through mutual friends. She sent tearful messages about how much she missed me and how sorry she was. During moments of weakness and loneliness, I was tempted to respond, but I held firm to my decision. Gradually, I rediscovered interests and hobbies I had neglected during our relationship. I reconnected with friends who had seen through Jasmine from the beginning, but had respected my choices enough to stay in my life without judgment. Physical changes followed the emotional ones. I established a new workout routine, updated my wardrobe with clothes I actually liked, rather than what Jasmine thought I should wear, and noticed a renewed energy as the burden of constantly trying to please someone unpleasable lifted. After 3 months, at the suggestion of Thomas, I began seeing a therapist who helped me understand the people-pleasing patterns that had made me vulnerable to someone like Jasmine. I learned to recognize the difference between genuine generosity that comes from a place of security and the kind of giving that stems from a fear of not being enough. "Your worth is not determined by what you can provide for others," my therapist told me during one particularly insightful session. "True relationships involve mutual respect and reciprocity." As my financial situation stabilized, I focused on building new connections based on these healthier principles. I joined a hiking group where I met Eliza, a wildlife photographer who insisted on paying for her own coffee when we stopped at a cafe after a trail. That small gesture of equality meant more to me than any grand romantic statement could have. At work, the energy I had previously devoted to maintaining my relationship with Jasmine was redirected into my projects. 6 months after the birthday party disaster, I received a promotion that significantly increased my salary, helping me resolve the remaining party debt even faster. Through it all, I established clear boundaries in all my relationships. I learned that giving should come from a place of choice rather than obligation, and that receiving is as important as giving in creating balanced connections. Small moments of joy began to punctuate my days. A sunrise hike, where the world seemed full of possibility. Laughter with friends who valued me for who I was, rather than what I could provide. The satisfaction of helping others, because I wanted to, not because I needed to purchase their affection. 1 year after Jasmine's birthday party, I realized I had not thought about her in weeks. The pain had faded, replaced by gratitude for the harsh but necessary lesson. What I learned through this experience is that genuine love includes mutual respect. It manifests as actions, not just words, and it never requires you to diminish yourself to prove your worth. Generosity should come from a place of strength and abundance, not insecurity and fear. The humiliation I felt that night turned out to be the thing that freed me from a relationship that was slowly draining not just my bank account, but my sense of self. I now understand that self-respect forms the foundation for all healthy relationships, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. I have found peace not through forgiveness of Jasmine, but through forgiveness of myself for staying so long in a situation that deep down I knew was wrong. The price I paid was high, but the lesson was invaluable. You must value yourself enough to leave any situation where you are not truly valued in return. Have you ever stayed in a relationship where you gave much more than you received? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult situations. Remember that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care. Thank you for listening, and I hope my journey helps you reflect on your own worth in your relationships.